Rain pours down as a bloodied arm lies motionless on the ground, the fragmented word "shi" echoing ominously in the background. Kneels in exhaustion on a devastated battlefield, clutching his sword as rain pours down from a blood-red sky. He lets out a weary gasp, surrounded by the ruins of giant broken weapons. Bloodied and weary, braces himself on his sword beneath a stormy red sky, struggling to stay upright in the rain. 4 battered figures lie sprawled on the rain-soaked ground, their wounds and exhaustion revealing the aftermath of a vicious battle. The air is heavy with pain and defeat as rain pours down around them. Stands in the pouring rain, bloodied and exhausted, letting out a weary sigh. Surveys a grim battlefield, surrounded by the bodies of fallen soldiers beneath a blood-red sky. He reflects somberly on the many ways they were killed. Bloodied and drenched by rain, grits his teeth in pain and frustration, muttering angrily to himself. Bathed in dark red tones, someone quietly admits to a serious mistake, the regret heavy in their words. Drenched and injured, whips his head around in shock. A close-up of a cracked helmet fills the panel as someone, astonished, admits they never expected a human to be so powerful. Bloodied and furious, stands over the battered giant in the rain, demanding to know how it's still alive. The fallen creature's eyes glow as it lies motionless beneath him. A majestic, glowing giant with large horns and shining eyes appears, surrounded by radiant light and drifting feathers. The words "Ahayut, the giant," echo in awe. 3 massive, horned giants with wings tower beneath a blood-red sky, one of them glowing as he hovers above the others. The narration reveals their sudden appearance in the Empire just 20 days ago. Lies bloodied and unconscious among the rubble, having unleashed chaos for reasons unknown. A boot slams down on someone's face with a wet, splattering sound. Kneels alone among the ruins, clutching his sword as he's confronted with harsh words about the devastation he's caused. Rain pours down as a boot crushes a cracked, glowing helmet, while a chilling voice announces its imminent return to its creator. Soaked by the rain and covered in blood, he looks down with a heavy heart, muttering a bitter farewell to his fallen enemy. Stands over the fallen creature in the rain, questioning it about his friends. The atmosphere is heavy as he demands answers while the wounded being lies silent. A massive red dragon unleashes a torrent of fire, roasting its victim in a fierce blaze. Bloodied but unbroken, he glares at the wizard as a brilliant magical seal takes shape, his voice laced with fury and accusation. Stands victorious over a fallen horned creature in the rain, gripping his sword with determination. A commanding voice warns him not to hide from the truth, declaring that as children of the stars, their senses are shared. Stands battered and bleeding in the rain, grimacing beneath a stormy red sky as he solemnly reflects on the deadly cost of facing their enemies. A lone warrior stands resolutely atop a fallen giant, surrounded by a rain-soaked battlefield beneath a blood-red sky. The air is heavy with loss as a somber voice declares there are no more warriors like him left. Bloodied but unbowed, glares forward and shouts that he's still standing, daring anyone to challenge him. A stern hand presses a dagger against a glowing, closed eye, delivering a grave warning not to be arrogant. Rain pours as a boot pins him to the ground, the speaker coldly admitting relief that his hidden talent was never honed. Tension fills the air as the threat becomes clear. Rain pours down as he glares furiously, teeth clenched, spitting out his words in anger. Bloodied and soaked by rain, he snarls a bitter, defiant command to his unseen foe, his face twisted with resentment against a brooding red backdrop. The giant armored figure gazes up with glowing eyes, expressing admiration for the resolute human standing on its face and holding a dagger. Tension lingers in the air as respect is shown, even under threat. Rain pours down as a hand tightens around a weapon, signaling a tense moment. Rain pours down as a bloodied man stares ahead in despair, declaring that there is no hope for the world. A massive horned skull lies half-buried as swirling dark energy rises, while a voice ominously proclaims a prophecy of doom. Brings his sword down hard, taking down a massive foe as rain pours around them, the moment crackling with intensity. A glowing mask radiates with swirling red and black energy, filling the scene with an ominous aura. A cloaked man stands resolute as thunder crashes, while a defeated figure lies motionless at his feet. The atmosphere crackles with tension after the confrontation. Bloodied and exhausted, he pants heavily in the rain, his eyes burning with determination. Rain pours down on a dark scene as blood pools on the ground, while someone resignedly admits they can't change what's already happened. A boot presses down into a blood-stained puddle as rain pours, setting a tense and ominous mood. The panel is shrouded in darkness, creating an ominous and suspenseful atmosphere. Breathing hard, he stands battered and bleeding in the rain, his face set with determination. Rain pours down as, battered and bleeding, pants for breath, struggling to stay conscious. 5 men close in around a silent, seated figure as 2 of them laugh, creating a tense atmosphere outside the tents. Looks up in surprise as someone steps in front of him, breaking the tension in the air. The 2 face each other in the forest, one smirking with confidence while the other meets his gaze with intense focus. Tension crackles silently between them. The 4 men enjoy a peaceful moment together outside a large tent, sharing smiles and friendly gestures. Lies bloodied and shocked on the rain-soaked ground while others stand above him, one looking smug and another watching with amusement. The atmosphere is tense and grim. Gasps for breath, his face bloodied and rain-soaked as exhaustion overwhelms him. Stands tall amidst the bodies of his defeated enemies, scornfully calling them fools as blood stains the ground beneath a red sky. Stands over his fallen foes in the rain, his cloak tattered as he mocks their defeat and questions their pride. A battered man is held and silenced in the rain, blood trickling down his face as someone mocks his stubbornness. Kneeling in the rain among his wounded comrades, wonders why only his sword was able to harm the giants when even the greatest swordsman failed. Stands bloodied in the rain, his face twisted with regret as he blames himself for leading the penal soldiers into danger and causing a comrade's death. Rain trickles down his battered face as he lets out a heavy, weary sigh, his bloodied eye reflecting exhaustion. He kneels in the rain, head bowed as he struggles to understand, his confusion and despair palpable against the red-tinted gloom. Kneels in the pouring rain, bloodied and stunned as a jolt of shock passes through him. Bloodied and anxious, freezes as he recognizes a familiar voice in the rain. Stares ahead in shock, rain streaming down his face as he realizes she's alive. A foot slams down onto wet ground with a loud crunch, breaking the tense silence. Rain pours as he stands alone with his spear, shocked to realize she's still alive while bodies lie scattered around him and a dark shadow looms overhead. Grips his staff with a trembling hand, rain streaming down as he fights through pain, his face set with fierce determination. His bloodied face glistens with rain as he stares ahead, his eyes burning with determination despite his injuries. Plummets rapidly toward the rocky ground, his cloak billowing as another character in red watches with concern. The panel crackles with tense energy. Bloodied and gripping his weapon, stares wide-eyed as he exclaims with relief upon seeing alive. Blood drips steadily from his wounded hand, emphasizing his pain and exhaustion. A bloodied woman stands tall in the rain, her voice steady as she calls out, "Grand Marshal." Determination burns in her eyes despite the somber atmosphere. Tumbles backward as stands below, framed by a dramatic red sky and rocky landscape. The moment pulses with tension. Battered and clutching a wooden staff in the pouring rain, stares in shock and relief as he realizes is still alive. Blood drips down from a torn, bloodied sleeve, highlighting a fresh injury. The atmosphere is heavy with pain and tension. A woman in a red uniform stands bleeding in the rain, her gaze fixed and determined as she utters, "Grand Marshal." Blood drips from his clenched jaw as he endures the pain, determination burning in his expression. In the pouring rain, the Grand Marshal slumps against a rock, battered and bleeding, while Corporal stands nearby with his sword, both visibly exhausted and worried for each other. With rain and sweat streaming down his bloodied face, he urgently demands to know if he's dead. A bloodied woman slumps against the wall in the pouring rain, admitting to the figure before her that she killed someone and the body is nearby. Bloodied and drenched by the rain, he stands solemnly and utters, "I see," with a look of steely determination. With blood and tears streaming down his face, he looks up at the red, rain-soaked sky and whispers, "He's finally dead." A wounded figure with bleeding eyes gazes upward in the rain, quietly thanking Corporal with a heavy, grateful tone. Under the pouring rain and a blood-red sky, both men sit in silence, quietly enduring their wounds after a brutal fight. Bloodied and battered, he lifts a finger and asks for a favor, his voice steady despite the rain and ominous red sky. Sitting by the fire in the rain-soaked battlefield, solemnly asks that the penal soldiers be given a proper burial, acknowledging their role in the victory, listens quietly amid the fallen. Bloodied and weary, he confides that he may not survive, urging the listener to be prepared to handle things alone. He coughs violently, struggling to speak, while she watches in shock beneath the dark, rainy forest canopy. Rain pours down as a bloodied, gloved hand reaches out. He grimaces and taunts, questioning if he'll really die before his opponent. Bloodied and battered in the rain, he clutches his wound with a weak smile, admitting he's already on the brink of death. Sitting together in the rain beneath a bleak sky, one of them quietly laments all the things he'll never have time to do, feeling sorrow as death draws near. His companion listens in silence, sharing the heavy mood. Two battered figures share a heartfelt conversation in the rain, one asking about future dreams, and the other eagerly listing all the things he wants to do if he survives. Injured and sitting in the rain, gazes upward with determination as a crucial thought comes to his mind. Battered and drenched in rain, confesses his regret about never attending an academy, listens closely, surprised by the mention of an academy. A giant stone statue's face is crushed underfoot as he mutters about the giant's nonsense and hints at another troubling reason. Gazes thoughtfully into the glowing light, lost in silent contemplation. Bathed in a gentle light, the serene figure of his late sister appears as he recalls her greatest wish, to send him to an academy. Slumped and bloodied, he gives a tired, resigned smile as he reflects on an unavoidable family reunion ahead. A wounded woman slumps against the rubble, telling a hopeful but doubtful man not to give her false hope as they wait for rescue. Thunder rumbles across a blood-red sky as dark clouds gather over barren trees, filling the air with a sense of looming danger. Glowing droplets fall through a red, cloudy sky, casting an eerie light across the scene. A glowing object plunges into dark water, sending ripples and droplets flying. Both characters stare wide-eyed in shock, sweat beading on their faces as one of them bleeds from the forehead. Two battered figures gaze upward, surprised as the rain suddenly stops and the storm clears. They express disbelief at how abruptly the weather changed. A bloody hand slams down with a loud boom, sending shockwaves through the tense atmosphere. And scream in terror as a massive boulder crashes down dangerously close to them. Bloodied and wide-eyed stares ahead in shock and confusion, desperately asking what's happening. Eye gleams with fierce determination as scratches mark his face, showing he remains focused despite his struggles. Bathed in golden light, a majestic figure unfurls 8 enormous wings, leaving everyone in stunned awe. Winged, horned figures with glowing eyes rise into a fiery sky, their presence both eerie and powerful as dark birds swirl around them. A massive winged beast with glowing red eyes soars into the fiery sky, while a determined figure with wings watches in the background. Wings spread wide, confronts the gathered angels under a glowing sky and demands to know what they want from him. The angelic group faces him in tense silence. A startled voice demands to know the identity of a group of glowing, winged beings surrounding a radiant, angelic figure. A man stands ready with his spear, anxiously watching a sky filled with mysterious flying creatures while a wounded woman sits nearby, looking on in worry. He shouts, demanding to know where they came from. The atmosphere is tense and uncertain. Blood streaming down her face, the young woman stares ahead in fear, realizing that the 3 giants might have only been the beginning. A lone speech bubble hangs in the darkness as someone reflects on having a third chance. Bloodied and broken, he stares downward in anguish, admitting he's failed once more. A voice echoes in the darkness, filled with doubt and despair about their final chance. His eye widens in shock as blood trickles down his face, capturing the intensity of the moment. 2 bloodied figures fill the panel as one desperately shouts, "Grand Marshal," while the other looks on in shock. The tension is palpable as both react intensely to the unexpected turn. A wounded young man, desperate and frustrated, shouts for someone to use telekinesis and send him upwards so he can reach his enemies with his sword. Bloodied and sweating, he looks shocked as he questions whether they're really not going to kill their enemies. A determined warrior stands tall with his spear, insisting on fighting, while his wounded companion questions if they should keep going as ominous creatures circle overhead. With fierce determination, he draws a glowing sword and prepares to fight, resolved even in the face of death. Swings his sword with fierce determination, vowing to take down several enemies as flames rage around him. A stunned onlooker watches from the ground. Bloodied and battered, he refuses to give up, leaving those around him both shocked and impressed by his determination. His face bloodied but resolute, clenches his teeth under the sunset, his determination burning through the pain. Stands with his sword, gazing hopefully up at a radiant winged figure and other celestial beings glowing in the sky. A sense of hope fills the moment as he faces these divine presences. His battered face is shown in profile, blood trickling, as he stares ahead with fierce determination against the vivid sunset. Bloodied and startled, reacts as a shadowy hand lands on his shoulder and someone demands to know what he wants. With a fierce glare and a hint of blood, he growls that he's busy and demands to not be interrupted. Bloodied and wide-eyed, is caught off guard as suddenly kisses him. Amid a glowing, ethereal sky, looks up in shock as winged figures hover around him. A girl suddenly kisses a stunned boy under a blazing sky, leaving him wide-eyed and exclaiming in shock. A bloodied man's eyes widen in shock as someone forcefully shoves a glowing blue orb into his mouth. He demands to know what was just put in. With a bruised face, he leans in close and whispers something urgently into his companion's ear. The mood is thick with tension as the secret is shared. Bloodied and shocked, confronts a dark-haired figure, demanding an explanation. His expression fierce, urges to keep moving, insisting they can't waste time. Struggles to stay upright on the rocky ground, clearly drained and injured. Bloodied and exhausted, turns in shock as someone urgently calls his name. Bruised and bloodied, he gives a faint, defiant smile as the wind blows, warning, "If you run into me again." With a gentle smile, asks if she should just focus on being a tailor instead of wasting her time. Battered and desperate, looks up in shock as several radiant angelic beings descend from the sky. He admits he's tried everything he could. Bloodied and smiling with his eyes closed, he quietly admits that nothing turned out as he'd hoped. His weary, scratched face fills the panel as his intense eye glints with silent determination. A towering winged figure hurls a radiant orb of energy from its claws, filling the scene with an intense, magical force. A blinding explosion erupts in the distance as the two stand side by side, staring in shock and awe. A massive burst of blue and pink energy erupts, filling the scene with dazzling, explosive light. A glowing blue orb floats down through the dark, rainy night, casting an eerie light as it arrives. His eye widens in shock as he gasps, clearly startled by something sudden. A dazzling sky fills the panel, leaving someone speechless in awe as they begin to call out, "G-Grand." Bursts up from the ground with determination, the sky bright above him as someone shouts, "Grand Marshal." He stands with his back to us, gazing thoughtfully at the sunlit landscape as the weighty words "Grand Marshal" echo in the air, leaves drift by in the gentle light underscoring his deep contemplation. Someone stares in disbelief at a serene countryside scene, unable to believe what they're seeing. Clings to a raft in the river, looking distressed, while the others watch in shock from the sunny riverbank. She exclaims, "How is this possible?" as everyone tries to process the unexpected situation. A hand softly brushes against the sunlit grass, capturing a peaceful, reflective moment. He quickly turns his head, alert and ready for whatever's coming. Sits on the grass beneath a bright sky, staring in surprise as he wonders if he's truly back in his and has traveled through time. A decorative note announces the first day of his return to the past. He sits alone beneath a large tree, letting out a tired sigh as he rests in the sunlight. Clutches his head in disbelief, stunned by the realization that the Grand Marshal was telling the truth. Sunlight highlights his troubled expression. Looks stunned as a woman with long hair grabs him, pulling their faces close together. He blurts out in confusion, trying to understand what's happening. With a bloodied face, is shocked as forcefully shoves a glowing orb into his mouth, revealing it's called the Orb of Time. The wounded woman in a red uniform reveals that the orb let her travel back in time, explaining how she rose from seamstress to Grand Marshal. Two versions of her stand back to back, hinting at her journey through time. A glowing blue orb radiates in the darkness, as someone anxiously realizes they have only one chance left. With blood streaming down his face, he stares ahead with fierce resolve and declares that he's decided to give a chance. Solemnly tells that he has the power to slay giants and could be the key to saving their world. They stand together in a desolate landscape, shadowed by looming giants. Leans in close to whisper encouraging words too, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat. Listens intently, absorbing the advice. Sitting battered in the rain, he blurts out his wish to study at an academy, then quickly tries to cover it up, startled by his own admission. A majestic building decorated with banners rises under the clear sky, as someone suggests seeking help from the many outstanding warriors inside. Bloodied and serious, he listens intently as someone off-panel asks him for a favor. Bloodied and exhausted, he gives a faint smile as he warns his opponent against crossing paths with him again. The sunset casts a dramatic glow behind him. She smiles gently, cradling fabric in her arms, and asks if she should stick to tailoring instead of wasting time. Battered and desperate, looks up at a radiant, angelic figure, surrounded by other winged beings, and cries out that he's tried everything he could think of. A somber speech bubble floats in the darkness, expressing disappointment that nothing went as hoped. Clutches his head, grimacing in frustration as he mutters, "Damn it." Hounds a tree in desperation, overwhelmed by his sudden time travel and isolation, while two concerned onlookers watch from nearby. The scene shifts to an empty town street, heightening his sense of confusion and loneliness. Touches a tree, his face full of shock as he questions if he's gone back in time. A hand tightens around a wooden stick on the grass as someone asks, "Does that mean?" The moment hangs with anticipation. Stands quietly before a large tree, lost in thought beneath the open sky. A foot slams into the grass, launching forward in a swift, determined dash beneath the open sky. He sprints into a radiant light, clutching his wooden staff, his eyes burning with hope as he declares a new chance to save his sister. Dashes urgently through the crowded medieval street, weaving past startled villagers. The energy is tense as he pushes forward on his mission. He strides forward with a confident smile, staff slung over his shoulder, convinced that what he seeks lies just ahead. His eye narrows in concentration as he suddenly senses something unusual nearby. Watches from afar, alarmed, as a group of youths taunt someone they've hung upside down from a tree. He wonders who they are. The boy hangs upside down from a tree, clearly distressed, while two others watch him with smug, amused expressions. Someone nearby cries out in shock, questioning what's being done to the helpless kid. The tense atmosphere hints at bullying in the middle of the town. Sighs in frustration, holding a stick as he walks away from two smirking figures. The air is heavy with resignation. Turns in shock as he realizes the kid isn't hanging from a rope, but is actually floating in the air using magic. Looks surprised and thoughtful as he wonders why someone with such remarkable magical talent is living in a remote area, noting that even the army had few with such power. Sunlight streams through the leaves as someone suddenly remembers something important. The scene feels calm and reflective. With magical energy swirling around their hands, the red-haired character stands in the clearing and reveals that someone was in town at this exact time. Trembles with worry, anxious about how much longer she has to keep someone suspended in the air. She fears that if it continues, it could become dangerous for him. A desperate voice pleads for mercy as a towering figure looms over and his companions, tension thick in the air. Hangs upside down from a tree, desperately shouting that he has no money as a glowing aura surrounds his bound feet. Gently pats someone's face and quietly admits he spent all his money on medicine for his mother this month. With a smug grin, the blonde man holds his victim upside down by the leg and demands he empty his pockets, mocking him in front of onlookers. A furious blonde man slaps another repeatedly, shouting angrily about being a good son. The force of each strike is clear from his aggressive motion. Three men share a smug laugh as one slaps away another's hand, their expressions full of mockery and amusement. A blonde man shouts about money, startling the red-haired person whose hands begin to glow. Tension crackles between them as the confrontation escalates. A blonde man orders someone to lift the upside-down captive higher into the tree, while a red-haired character focuses on casting a glowing spell. Tension fills the scene as the captive hangs helplessly. One character anxiously protests about holding someone up, fearing he might drop them, while another mocks his worries, calling him a baby. The other two stand by, quietly watching the exchange. With fierce determination in his eyes, he snaps at to lift someone up, his voice sharp and unyielding. Visibly startled, clutches a faintly glowing light and looks down in fear after being threatened. With wide, anxious eyes, sweats and stares ahead in shock, internally questioning how things got to this point. Bathed in darkness, someone bitterly regrets ever learning magic, their thoughts echoing in a glowing speech bubble. The young magician lifts apples into the air with a swirl of magic, proudly showing off their talent to an impressed crowd. His hands tremble as blue magical energy flickers around them, his thoughts swirling with doubt about admitting his struggle. With trembling, glowing hands, bites her lip and forces herself to overcome her fear, determined to speak up despite her anxiety. A red-haired person desperately begs for mercy in the forest, while two others watch with smug expressions. He raises both hands, blue energy crackling around him as he shouts, "Stop this," trying to halt the chaos. Swings a wooden stick to stop the attack, shouting for it to end as recoils in pain. Slips and falls hard in front of the others, leaving them surprised and slightly amused as they watch the sudden mishap. A furious man storms toward a startled companion, demanding answers and accusing him of betrayal, while the other stammers out a nervous denial. A pink-haired girl looks surprised as someone tells her to forget about a loser, trying to reassure her outside. A red-haired woman urgently insists they need to talk, startling, who looks surprised and holds a stick. Storms forward with a serious expression, declaring that he has questions, while looks on anxiously. Angrily demands to know how learned telekinesis, while nervously admits he taught himself from a magic book he bought from a traveling merchant. The tension between them is palpable under the open sky. A blonde-haired man stares in disbelief as he realizes someone mastered telekinesis using only a cheap old magic book, while the dark-haired young man looks quietly amazed. The two stand on the dirt, one gripping a wooden stick while pondering its effectiveness, considering how it might be used against giants. The atmosphere is thoughtful as the other watches in silence. A hand swiftly draws a gleaming sword from its sheath with a sharp metallic sound, tension crackling in the air. Glances sharply to the side, his face tense and alert, reacting to an unexpected sound in the peaceful forest. He grips his glowing sword tightly, glaring forward with fierce determination as he shouts in outrage. Glares fiercely, his eyes blazing with anger as he warns that he's already shown too much mercy. Fueled by determination, he charges forward with his sword, vowing to make his opponent pay. The atmosphere crackles with tension as the attack begins. Eyes the warily, wondering how a street thug could have gotten such a weapon. With a fierce look, he swings his glowing weapon, relying on pure strength despite lacking proper technique. Swings his sword with determination, declaring his confidence, while stands calmly and unshaken before him. Hand stares in disbelief, sweat beading on his face as he wonders how his opponent dodged so easily. His eyes glow with determination as he realizes he still possesses his old skills despite going back in time. A young man with glowing eyes stands determined before a battle-worn figure, both sharing an intense, instinctive connection as a bloodied sword gleams between them. Hand smirks and threatens to leave his opponent helpless, but admits the win was lucky. Responds calmly, reflecting that he wishes he'd been this lucky before. The tension between them is sharpened by their banter and the drawn sword. The blonde man threatens his opponent, demanding he beg for forgiveness and taunting him with the threat of losing an arm, while the dark-haired man stands unfazed, holding a glowing sword and responding sarcastically. With a smug grin, he grabs the other's collar and threatens to look after his sister if anything happens to him. A blonde young man laughs, holding his sword as he teases the other about his sister. The mood is playful and light. A shadowy, furious figure lunges forward, eyes glowing with rage, as he mutters a crude thought under his breath. Energy crackles around him, intensifying the menacing atmosphere. Is struck in the head, blood spurting as he stares ahead in shock. A severed ear tumbles through the air, blood droplets scattering around it. Someone off-panel reacts in shock, exclaiming, "Huh." A sword crashes to the ground as he clutches his bleeding ear in agony, shouting in pain, while three figures quickly retreat behind him. A boot slams down hard on the ground, breaking the tense silence. Someone calls out sharply, heightening the suspense. Towers over the anxious blonde, hurling a furious insult as the other looks up in fear. Glares fiercely, his eye glowing with fury as he threatens to cut someone's throat. Stands tall with a stick in hand as kneels at his feet, while a crowd watches the tense standoff. Three men stare in shock, clutching wooden sticks, as one of them stammers in disbelief about someone cutting off his own ear. A blood-soaked tree branch drips in the darkness as someone exclaims in disbelief about the crude weapon. The scene radiates tension and unease. Stands confidently and taunts the three startled men, asking if they enjoyed the show as they grip their wooden sticks. Furiously stomps on his opponent and shouts a threat, while the injured man recoils in pain on the ground. A battered young man trembles on the ground as three threatening figures loom over him, one brandishing a bloodied bat and demanding extra money as payback. Trembling on the ground, a desperate man pleads, offering money as a group surrounds him, and one stands over him menacingly with a stick. A freckled young man is handed a heavy sack as coins spill out, his face lighting up with shock and excitement. He can hardly believe it's really his. Offers a sword, leaving him surprised and grateful by the generous gift. Tears of relief stream down his face as he clutches the bundle close, smiling and thanking his savior for keeping him safe. Casually waves someone off, telling them to just go home, his eyes closed in a calm, dismissive manner. A red-haired girl stands nervously in a forest clearing, fidgeting as she hesitates and utters, "Huh." The other two watch her closely, curiosity written on their faces. Her lips tremble as she stammers, sweat beading on her chin. The girl bows her head and apologizes, her voice trembling with regret, while the two men stand facing her, one silently gripping his sword. One of them confesses with a trembling voice that Hans forced him to help, admitting through tears that he knew it was wrong. Both characters appear overwhelmed by fear and guilt. With tears in her eyes, she admits she was overwhelmed by fear and couldn't control herself. Breaks down in tears, apologizing and blaming herself, while the others watch her anxiously, one cradling a small bundle and the other standing by with concern. Smirks and teases about how often he cries, his tone light and mocking. Flinches, her eyes wide and brimming with tears, as someone mentions the bullying she endured since Hans started targeting her. Holding a bag, quietly admits to the others that seeing someone else cry made him realize he's not the only one being targeted. The group stands together in a quiet, somber clearing. With a solemn look, the red-haired character softly tells the other that they're both facing the same struggles. Leaves rustle gently in the background, adding to the quiet, empathetic mood. Gently pats his shoulder, offering him comforting words and encouragement. He smiles gently, holding a tied sack, and reassures someone that it's not their fault. Sunlight brightens the peaceful scene around him. He gently places a hand on her shoulder, expressing his appreciation for the apology while another quietly observes the scene under the open sky. The tension has eased, replaced by a calm sense of reconciliation. stands at a distance, holding a small bundle protectively while two shadowy figures watch from the foreground. The mood is tense and uncertain. Outside in the forest, one character stands quietly while the other gives a hesitant wave, the mood calm but uncertain. His eyes narrow as he silently contemplates, lost in thought. Gazes off to the side, lost in quiet thought as soft light filters through the outdoor scene. He smirks confidently under the bright sky, thinking there might be hope for him after all. Calls out to with a serious tone, catching him off guard. Stammers in surprise, quickly trying to regain his composure. Turns away after setting a meeting for 3 days, leaving shocked and anxious at the sudden deadline. Looks surprised and confused as, appearing preoccupied, brushes him off and walks away, suggesting they meet later when the moon rises. Grips his sword menacingly as he issues a chilling warning, while looks on in fear. With a sharp warning not to be late, he dashes off, leaving the other standing quietly and watching him go. Looking disoriented, stares ahead and blurts out in confusion, what was that all about? He stands quietly outside a small house, surrounded by a peaceful forest with sunlight streaming through the trees. A mysterious shadow falls across a wooden wall, hinting at someone's presence just out of sight. A radiant bouquet of roses appears, sparkling softly as the character begins to reminisce. Blushing and looking anxious, holds out a bouquet of pink roses as he explains he picked them for his sister. Dashes away from the building, clutching a glowing object, panicking about his decision and considering throwing it away. Suddenly, something unexpected catches his attention. Someone steps cautiously onto the creaking wooden floor and wonders aloud who is outside. A woman with long silver hair beams as she exclaims, "I didn't know it was you." He stands frozen in surprise, caught completely off guard by her warm greeting. His eyes widen in shock as he sees someone return, dark smoke curling at the bottom of the panel. Stands in the rain, lost in thought as he wonders what he would say to his sister if they met again. A younger, happier version of himself appears beside him, highlighting the contrast between his troubled present and his innocent past. A cheerful woman beams with joy as she warmly greets someone who's arrived home early. His eyes widen in shock, his face lit with a sudden, intense realization. He stands at the doorway with a bouquet in hand, while she welcomes him back with a warm smile. Someone gazes in awe at a hearty meal spread out before them, unable to believe their luck. Beams as she hugs a bouquet of flowers, touched by the unexpected gift from her younger brother. Sunlight fills the room, adding to her warmth and happiness. She beams with joy, hugging the bouquet tightly while he stands nearby, looking nervous but relieved that she likes the flowers. A young man, politely declining more stew, sits at the table surrounded by empty dishes, looking a bit awkward. Casually asks how old his companion is, prompting a surprised response as they sit together in the warm kitchen. In a cozy kitchen filled with herbs and jars, someone suddenly admits they can't remember something important, prompting a shocked reaction. A woman leans over the table, worriedly asking if he has a headache or fever, while he sits in shock, exclaiming about his sister's age. The table is piled high with food, but surprise and concern dominate the moment. A towering, armored figure with wings stands solemnly as a grim warning about an attack in 10 years hangs in the air. A gentle hand touches his forehead as his golden eyes gaze upward, radiating a calm and tender atmosphere. She gently touches her forehead, looking worried as she reassures herself that she doesn't have a fever and remembers her sister just as she was. A silver-haired woman gently checks the man's forehead, her concern clear as she asks if he's all right. He sits quietly, touched by her warmth and kindness. A woman gently touches the man's forehead as he sits quietly, surrounded by the warmth of a shared meal. The moment feels peaceful and intimate, as if they both wish it could last forever. With a tense grip on his head, he resolves that in 10 years, he must protect both the world and his sister. A woman with long silver hair gently places her hand on a man's shoulder and tells him she has something important to say. He turns to her, curiosity and concern in his expression. Sits in the warm light, holding someone's hand as he announces his plan to enter an academy. Hope fills the air as he shares his decision. Stares ahead in shock, exclaiming in disbelief about an academy. The silver-haired girl bursts out, seriously, while the boy stands there, clearly caught off guard by her excitement. The girl eagerly grabs and swings his hand, demanding confirmation, while he stammers and admits he means what he said. The silver-haired character bolts away in a rush, while the black-haired one looks on, startled and sweating nervously. Sits on a stool while objects and a mouse fly around the room, enthusiastically praises him as a genius, leaving surprised and flustered. Someone forcefully slams a large object onto the table, making jump in shock. With excitement, presents a surprise gift, while leans in curiously to see what it is. Surprised, asks where all the money came from as cheerfully reveals a pot brimming with sparkling gold coins, explaining he saved it up in secret for a surprise. Visibly impressed and a bit anxious, praises for saving up enough money and talks about sending him to an academy if he ever changes his mind. Turns down the offer of money, insisting it's not enough and suggesting it be kept, looks surprised and confused as the pot of money sits between them. The silver-haired woman insists the situation is more serious than he realizes, firmly naming the Imperial Academy as her point of reference. A silver-haired woman in an apron turns with a surprised look, facing a shadowy figure. She murmurs, "Huh," in confusion. A sunny house sits peacefully among the trees as a huge, startled "what" bursts across the sky. The scene is jolted by a sudden shock. The Grand Academy building stands tall under the bright sky as the narration introduces the prestigious Imperial Academy, the Empire's top educational institution. An elder confidently describes the Academy's unparalleled teachers and immense imperial funding. A treasure chest overflowing with gold and jewels illustrates its vast resources. The panel highlights the Academy's legendary reputation, introducing a confident woman and two mysterious figures, one a famed, the other a notorious villain, all linked to its storied legacy. Bloodied and exhausted, he reflects on the war and instantly grasps the Grand Marshal's praise for warriors. Walks alone down a moonlit forest path, pondering the daunting entrance requirements and high tuition fees of the Academy. His face is set with determination as he considers the challenges ahead. Looks anxious as he remembers his sister's shaky but encouraging words, surprised by her reaction. Feet skid to a sudden halt, tension hanging in the air as movement stops abruptly. His eyes are filled with determination as he vows to prove himself by getting into the Academy. With his arms crossed, looks at the tall figure by the tree and admits he didn't expect him to actually come. Nervously corrects someone who mispronounced his name, looking uneasy in the dim forest. In the moonlit forest, the nervous girl brings up a past threat, but the confident boy brushes it off, urging her to leave old grudges behind. As one character is restrained inside a large sack, the other calmly explains that a test is about to begin, prompting a nervous question in response. Tension fills the air as the test looms. A pink-haired woman looks startled as someone nearby waves a gloved hand dismissively, insisting it's nothing serious. The tension is clear despite the attempt to reassure her. With a confident smile, he points and commands to use telekinesis on him. With a confident smirk under the swirling sky, he points upward and commands, "Lift me up as high as you can." A startled young woman with pink hair anxiously asks why she's being asked to use telekinesis on someone, her confusion clear in the forest setting. In the shadowy forest, one character nervously voices his concern about danger, but the other dismisses it with confidence, insisting they follow his lead. With a worried look, reassures her companion in the forest, insisting that she'll be all right. With trembling hands glowing blue, he nervously braces himself and begins to activate the power of the radiant artifact. Thrusts his hand forward, shouting, "Invisible hand." A surge of blue energy hurtles toward the dark-haired opponent. A burst of glowing blue energy surrounds him, and he gasps in shock as the power flares unexpectedly. Blue energy swirls around his feet as he floats above the ground, leaving onlookers in awe of his growing magical power. Channels a surge of blue magical energy, his face set with determination as he exclaims, "Then I thought." Faces the towering, glowing figure as mystical energy swirls around them, reflecting on how this power reminds him of his battle with the giants. He senses the energy isn't quite stable or strong enough yet. Recalls how the telekinesis spell once let him battle high in the sky, while two characters channel glowing magical energy from their hands. With his eyes glowing red, leaps forward, sword raised, and shouts in excitement as he launches a powerful attack at the horned skull figure, surrounded by swirling energy. Stands confidently as blue magical energy swirls around him, highlighting his rare telekinetic abilities. With a focused look, he channels magical energy, realizing someone will become a vital ally in his coming battle against the giants. He grins with smug confidence, his eyes sharp as he says, "Well, well." Concentrates, summoning glowing blue magical energy from his hands, and remarks that they're certainly off to a good start. Clings tightly to the glowing sword, urging someone to hold on a bit longer as mystical energy swirls around him. He looks determined, focused on examining the weapon. With her hands glowing, the young woman declares she'll come down by herself, surprising those around her. A gloved hand grips a sword tightly under the starry sky as someone demands, "How are you going to do that?" Tension fills the air, hinting at a crucial decision. Swings his sword in a fierce, decisive slash, the motion frozen in a moment of intense action. Startled and wide-eyed, looks up as swirling blue magic surrounds them, clearly confused by the sudden phenomenon. Slams his foot down and swings his glowing sword, leaving the pink-haired character stunned as they realize he just cut through their mana. A startled girl asks what he just did, but he casually brushes it off as a simple trick he's always known. They stand together in a quiet, moonlit clearing. Red-haired winces as their head is grabbed, admitting confusion and pain while trying to explain their mysterious ability to cut through mana. Under the night sky, he unsheathes his sword with determination, vowing to learn more about his mysterious ability. His companion watches nervously from nearby. Gazes at his sword, recalling how its unique power allowed him to cut down the giant with yellow eyes. He reflects on the ability that made his victory possible. Strides purposefully toward a fallen figure, his face set with determination, while lingers behind, visibly worried. A dramatic text box announces that there's more important business to address, shifting the mood to something serious. A reassuring voice confirms has passed the test as a hand grips a belt harness in the dim light. He tosses a bag to her and urges her to follow, saying they have work to do before sunrise. She catches it, looking surprised and confused. He speaks in a low voice, his lips curling into a faint smile as he admits how dark it is. A bold, defiant voice cuts through the darkness with the challenge, "So what?" Stands beneath the full moon, declaring with determination that his story is about to make history. Moonlight filters through the clouds as someone quietly steps along a tranquil forest path at night. Walking down a forest path, one character gasps in shock and asks if they're really heading to Academy, while the other leads on in silence. Breathless and anxious, the young woman questions if they're really going to the elite academy reserved for the Empire's top warriors. She can hardly believe what she just heard. In the dim forest, she presses him for answers about bringing her along, but he snaps back, clearly irritated by her questions. In the shadowy forest, one character voices concern, while the other hesitates, admitting that's not the real issue. Tension lingers between them as they discuss moving forward. A worried young woman fidgets with her fingers beneath the night sky, confessing her insecurities about not being good at anything. Gazes ahead with a serious expression, quietly admitting that he is cowardly and timid. Stares ahead in shock, caught off guard by a pointed question about his future. Stands alone in the darkness, looking uneasy as a disembodied voice questions if dealing with petty thugs is really the life they want for someone so talented. Stands in the forest with his arms crossed and eyes closed, delivering a blunt critique about someone's cowardice and timidity. Bleeding and grimacing, he's stabbed while being mocked for his weakness and sensitivity. The pink-haired woman encourages, her voice filled with hope, assuring him that things can always change. Stands in the dusky forest, warning that wasted time is something he can never get back, listens quietly, taking in the serious advice. Stands tall in the moonlit forest, warning that she'll regret her choices someday, looks on, visibly anxious and uncertain. His eye glints with determination as he recalls his own actions in the past. Stands firm on the barren ground, clutching his worn sword, while his weary companions rest behind him. Gently pats on the shoulder, asking if he's starting to change her mind, looks surprised and softly says his name. His eyes widen in shock, her cheeks flushed as she struggles to believe what she's just learned about. The pink-haired girl gasps in surprise as the man gently tells her she's free to choose her own path, showing genuine concern for her. Turns his back and walks away through the forest while, reaching out desperately, begs him to wait and let him change. With a confident smile, he declares that he'll join the journey too, and asks what he needs to do. Looks at with a determined gaze, telling him it's time for his first challenge in the shadowy forest. Listens intently, sensing the seriousness of the moment. With a sly grin, he stands confidently while she exclaims that their plan worked perfectly, her surprise clear in the forest's shadows. A campfire burns brightly, the flames crackling within a circle of large stones. The warmth and light fill the calm night. The red-haired character freezes in place, eyes wide with shock as a sudden chill runs through them. Nervously asks if he really understood the first challenge, peering through the bushes with who calmly confirms it. The tense forest setting adds to their anxiety. Presents a formidable, bandaged opponent, explaining that this challenge will instantly sharpen someone's skills. The dim light highlights his determination. A fierce Luna goblin sits hunched over, glaring at a pile of bones on the ground. The atmosphere is tense and ominous. 4 goblins lounge around a campfire surrounded by skeletons and a locked chest, revealing they're not alone. The atmosphere is tense yet casual as the group relaxes together. Flashes a confident smile, trying to reassure who looks nervous and unsure. He stands in the shadows of the forest, golden eyes shining as he smiles and declares it's time to begin. 2 humans watch a brooding goblin mutant sitting by a fire in the dark forest as someone explains it's a local type of goblin mutant. Three grotesque, yellow-skinned goblins stand together, their monstrous forms highlighted to show how they differ from ordinary goblins. A monstrous figure grins wickedly as it clutches a sparkling heap of gold coins and jewelry. Goblin-like raiders ruthlessly attack a wounded merchant and snatch up crates of treasure, showing no hesitation as they gather their loot. A group of orc-like figures celebrates joyfully around a glowing pedestal beneath the full moon, ready to throw a party. A treasure chest glimmers in the moonlight, its contents revealed only under the full moon. Crouched behind bushes in the night, one character trembles nervously while the other firmly confirms why they're there. He leans forward in the shadowy forest, his eyes burning with resolve as he declares, "Tonight." She watches the goblins gathered around a campfire, puzzled by their unusual behavior. Opens a mysterious bag in the forest as a surprised woman questions how he knows about it, while he tries to dodge her suspicion. With a sly grin, he grabs her from behind and urges her to use telekinesis to steal the treasure and stash it in his bag. She looks anxious and sweats nervously, admitting her fear of making a mistake and waking someone up. In the forest, a worried hesitates over a risky plan while calls him a coward and pushes him to reconsider. A gloved hand flicks two fingers as a nervous girl with pink hair listens closely to urgent instructions about what they need for. As glittering treasure looms above the castle, one character explains that whilst tuition is steep, real combat experience is far more valuable. Raises two fingers as he seriously explains that is filled with warriors from noble, well-educated families. Looking determined, tells a tense and worried that there's only one way to compete with such strong opponents. His eyes blaze with determination as he declares that real combat experience requires risking your life. Hidden in the bushes at night, they eye a sleeping goblin as one excitedly explains how hunting goblins brings both money and experience. Tears streaming down their face, crouches on the ground and insists on their plan, demanding agreement from the others. With a burst of enthusiasm, he pats her head and opens a bag, declaring, "Let us get started," as they stand together in the moonlit forest. Jewelry and coins tumble into an open box, filling the air with clinking sounds. A mystical mist swirls as a dagger, coins, and a pendant float in the air, shimmering against the forest backdrop. Concentrates, using magic to float coins, and a sword above a chest overflowing with gold. A glowing sword and magical items tumble through the air as a commanding voice orders, "Drop them." He grins smugly as golden coins and a gleaming sword tumble down before him. Smiles with satisfaction as he looks down at the open, sparkling treasure chest. Two bags stuffed with glittering coins and a small sword shine under the moonlight as someone exclaims their success. Ruffles hair beaming with pride as she stares in awe at the glowing treasure chest, hardly believing her own achievement. He smiles, impressed at how quickly the other person adapted despite his initial doubts. A pink-haired girl beams with pride, clenching her fist as someone affectionately pats her head. With a wicked grin and glowing eyes, he declares he's found the perfect accomplice as they both burst into laughter. Kneeling on the grass at night, they finish packing their bags as one urges to get going and the other reacts in surprise. He looks down thoughtfully and says they're done here, suggesting they head back. Moonlight filters through the cloudy night sky over a dense forest as someone warns about avoiding trouble. And race through the forest, both visibly frustrated as shouts, "Damn it!" Yells angrily at the bird as he and his ally race after it along a forest path. A sudden shout startles the young man and woman as they walk through the dark forest, making them freeze in place. An ominous silence hangs in the darkness, heightening the tension. Startled by a sudden noise, they peer anxiously into the dark forest as one of them demands to know what's happening. The orc-like character glances sideways with a wary grimace, startled by something unexpected. Startled by a commotion, the green-haired orc glances warily toward a glowing chest as others lie motionless nearby. Stands firm, radiating confidence, as he dares his opponent to try breaking through his defense. Someone stares in disbelief at a glowing treasure chest marked empty, shocked that all the treasure is gone. Two goblin-like creatures shout angrily and prepare to attack as they spot a thief, while a third lies defeated on the ground. The goblins erupt in alarm, growling and searching the cave for the suspected thief. The three orc-like figures freeze in shock, eyes wide as they react to an unexpected disturbance in the forest clearing. The two travelers move forward cautiously, unaware that three monstrous creatures are watching them from the shadows. stands anxiously in the moonlit forest, muttering in distress, while watches with a confident smirk. And his companions stand tensely on a ledge as a horde of snarling, red-eyed goblins charges toward them. Screams in terror, eyes wide with shock. Stands with his sword, visibly frustrated, while his red-haired companion slumps on the ground beside their dropped bags. Anxiously urges them to run and abandon their bags, but stands firm, drawing his sword and refusing to leave anything behind. Under the starry sky, he grips his sword tightly, questioning how they'll pay tuition without the treasure and if he's expected to earn the money himself. Panics and warns about the charging goblins, while he calmly assesses his cheap and braces for the fight. Braces himself as a swarm of snarling, red-eyed creatures charges at him, tension mounting with their ferocious advance. Blocks a monstrous green hand with his sword as a girl, urgently warns him to watch out. With a determined shout, he slices through both monsters at once, their heads flying from his powerful strike. 3 bloodied goblin heads hover in the air, their green hair matted as dark clouds swirl behind them. She stands frozen in terror as monstrous creatures close in, the air thick with blood and fear. A blood-soaked blade glints menacingly against the sky, dripping with fresh blood. Lands a bloody, powerful slash, his face set with fierce confidence. 2 black birds with glowing red eyes screech menacingly from a branch under a cloudy sky. A sword rams straight through the horned character's head, sending blood flying in a brutal, explosive moment. With golden eyes glowing and blood on his face, he surveys the aftermath and remarks that the fight wasn't as tough as expected. Kneels in shock, staring at a man who's been killed by a bloodied sword through the head. Stands frozen in the dark forest, eyes wide with shock, exclaiming in disbelief at what just happened. Charges through the rain, shouting in frustration as his target slips away. Cuts down the 3 leading goblins in a single blow, then swiftly takes out the rest behind them. He leans forward with a sly, smug smile, his eyes hidden beneath his hair. With a fierce glare, he tears through the goblins, red laser beams slashing around him. Slices off the monster's head with a powerful swing, sending blood flying. Stands in the moonlight, somberly surveying the field of fallen goblins as he grips his sword. Gripping his sword and wounded, urges a startled to act, prompting to snap out of hesitation and apologize. Grips his blood-stained sword tightly and tells there's no need to apologize, urging him to just grab his things. Stands beneath the full moon, resting his blood-stained sword on his shoulder as he declares with a determined smile, "We're going home." He trudges forward, burdened by a massive, heavy backpack strapped tightly to his back. He lets out a weary sigh, adjusting his glove as he laments the unexpectedly tough mission, while his companion stands nearby, clearly exhausted in the fading forest light. Presses on his sore muscles and wonders if he's out of shape after fighting goblins. Spins with determination in the dark forest, vowing to start intense training once he returns. As they walk through the forest at night, she nervously asks about a mysterious shout, but he brushes her off, claiming he doesn't know. A commanding voice yells, "Stop right there," as a startled woman frees in the forest with gripping a large bag. 2 figures walk away down a shadowy forest path, while a hand in the foreground clutches a glowing arrow, and someone grumbles about the trouble caused by a midnight outburst. A red crystal-tipped spear hurtles through the air toward the unsuspecting pink-haired figure walking away. She spins around in shock, eyes wide, clearly startled by something unexpected. Snatches a glowing knife from the startled, exclaiming in surprise. A startled red-haired character recoils in fear as someone brandishes an arrow dangerously close to them. He glares suspiciously, shouting in frustration about the strange commotion in the forest while a shocked pink-haired girl's head floats above him. 2 men in matching outfits stand alert in the moonlit forest, and one of them quietly remarks, "Oh, they're people." He smirks while holding an arrowhead and mocks their opponents as she looks on, worried and surprised. 2 confident figures stride in with an apology, catching the surprised boy and anxious girl off guard. Glances alertly toward a distant rustling sound, a cautious smile on his face. A bag overflows with sparkling gold coins as someone explains they thought it might be a monster. Crouches down, presses his ear to the ground, and explains that he wants clear proof of innocence. The 2 in red breathe a sigh of relief in the forest, acknowledging they almost hurt someone by mistake. In the moonlit forest clearing, checks if everyone is all right but sharply calls out the group's hidden tensions, cutting through the uneasy silence. The panel is empty, showing only a gray gradient across the background. The two young men freeze in surprise as a towering figure confronts them, demanding honest answers. His eyes glow fiercely as he demands to know who the two figures are. The two young men stand side by side in the forest, both looking nervous as one quietly murmurs, "Oh." The man in the red uniform laughs awkwardly and apologizes for not introducing himself, scratching his head as he speaks to the other man outdoors. He grips a glowing object tightly and declares, "I'll tell you who we are." A menacing figure with glowing red eyes swings a knife while the startled protagonist questions their name. The attacker loudly declares their group as, seizes his stunned opponent and lands a brutal punch, sending blood flying from their mouth. His eyes glow fiercely as he glares ahead, cursing and challenging his enemies. Red particles swirl around him, amplifying his defiant energy. A furious blonde attacker charges forward with a knife, shouting, while the calm black-haired figure stands unfazed and another person kneels behind them. Blue energy crackles around his hand as someone cries out, startled by sudden display of power. A blonde man bursts forward, blue energy swirling around him as he shouts a warning about an invisible attack. Panics as blue energy wraps around him, leaving him unable to move. Cheers for who stands nervously as blue energy crackles around them. Shouts nice as he lunges forward, slashing at his glowing, magical opponent with a knife. Amid a web of red lasers, one crouches low with a glowing, bloodied knife while the other stands tense, sword at the ready. A worried glances back in shock as someone walks away carrying a bloodied sword. Freezes in shock as red laser beams crisscross around him in the dusky forest. A scream pierces the dark forest as blood splatters behind, leaving him tense and alert. She stumbles back in terror, letting out a scream as her foot lands on a bloodied corpse. Anxiously asks if someone is dead while defends his actions, insisting they had no choice since their lives were at stake. A man calmly reveals their connection to leaving the young woman visibly shocked and alarmed. Two menacing figures flash bloody knives and smug grins, their crimes of poaching and trafficking revealed against a dark, ominous backdrop. Drives his knife into his opponent's stomach, gritting out a fierce response as the man cries out in pain. Stands under the night sky, gripping a bloody knife as he warns someone that he just saved them from a gruesome fate. Lying wounded on the ground, he declares it would be a crime to let his enemies escape, his gloved hand resting beside a twitching sack. The shrouded form stirs as dark tentacles twitch eerily beneath the cloak. They stare at a suspiciously moving bundle on the forest floor, wondering if it hides a poached animal. A masked figure with glowing eyes seizes someone by the collar, glaring menacingly and declaring, "Let us open it and find out." A shadowy bird dives down with a screech, startling and the girl as they react in shock. The two look up in shock as a glowing blue bird flies overhead, leaving them both startled and confused. A glowing blue feather floats in the darkness as someone wonders aloud what kind of bird it's from. A glowing blue bird soars above as they stare up in shock and amazement. A small blue bird with shackled legs flaps its wings and chirps beneath a glowing sky. Marvels at the sight of a chained blue bird, while calmly admits he's never seen one either. His eyes widen in surprise as he notices the shackles. A mystical pair of glowing shackles radiate a purple aura as someone explains their power to disrupt mana and restrain creatures. Wonders if the blue bird is a rare species and tries to communicate with it as a magical symbol glows. A glowing bird takes flight from a magical symbol as exclaims in excitement, signaling they've finally made a connection. Looks on, hopeful and attentive. Startled by a talking bird, Slaps, who calmly explains it's just a communication spell. Narrows his eyes at a mysterious bundle, suspecting it blocks mana. A nervous scholar introduces himself as the guardian of the rare, while conjuring a glowing magical circle in the library. A glowing magical circle floats in a misty, star-speckled sky as someone expresses relief after struggling to connect with and considering calling the police. Quickly pushes his startled companion aside and cautiously questions the glowing magical bird hovering in front of them. In the pouring rain, they clash fiercely as one lunges with a knife, explaining how a scuffle broke out with the poachers who stole the bird. Nervously stalls for time as kneels with a glowing dagger, both surrounded by a web of red laser beams in the darkness. He gazes forward with a blank expression as haunting, gruesome memories flicker through his mind. Startled, talks to the glowing bird and learns it was rescued from poachers. He holds his face, letting out a shaky sigh of relief as he thanks someone for their help. Beaming with gratitude, gushes over the adorable, glowing bird, then wonders aloud how to return it since its shackled feet keep it from moving. He wonders aloud if the bird will return to him once its shackles are removed, sounding unsure but hopeful. A gloved hand slices through the shackles with a knife as he remarks on this homing instinct and how convenient this is. Faces a glowing portal as the large blue bird, its chains broken, reacts in shock with a startled cry. He stands firm with his sword, ordering the bluebird to return to its father. Gently scolds the sparkling bluebird, smiling as it chirps back at him amid blooming roses. A bird flutters nearby with a sharp tweet, as looks up in surprise. Looks confused as the little blue bird sticks its tail out, and someone explains that it wants him to pluck a feather so they can meet again. Nervously plucks a glowing feather from the magical bird, while his companion explains that the feather will always point toward the bird. A glowing blue feather flutters in the air as someone warmly invites the recipient to visit them in the capital using the magical feather. A glowing sigil appears as a blue bird speeds past and in the forest, accompanied by a booming promise of reward. And the pink-haired girls stare at each other in surprise as she notices something mysterious in his hand. Stands outside at dusk, looking baffled as he blurts out in confusion while the pink-haired girl watches him closely. And his companions stop on a forest path, both staring curiously at a mysterious bag lying on the ground. A few days later, the scene shifts to a tranquil village square, where two horses rest beside a wagon under the clear sky. Under the bright sky, three men work together to load wooden crates onto a wagon, their movements steady and focused. His wide eye reflects the dazzling blue gem as he marvels at its extraordinary craftsmanship. With a gleam in his eye, the man eagerly offers 20 gold coins for the blue pendant. Gazes at a bag overflowing with glowing coins, marveling at his good fortune. Smiles confidently while a pink-haired girl clings to his arm, expressing her relief at finally meeting someone reasonable. Angrily confronts the merchant over the price of a blue pendant, while his companion tries to calm him down. The merchant snaps back defensively as tensions rise. Warmly thanks the merchant as they shake hands, while his companion watches with visible relief. Rummages through his things and asks if another item can be appraised. Peers intently at a glowing, cosmic-patterned egg through his monocle, explaining he only wants to know what it is. His eye flashes with determination as he recalls the blue, placing something in his hand that night. Gazes in awe at a glowing, cosmic sphere pulsing with energy in his hand. A shadowy figure lingers in the darkness as someone recalls thinking a strange substance was animal droppings. Recoils in disgust after a bird drops something on his hand, then angrily hurls a purple egg at a rock, shattering it while watches in shock. Shields himself from crumbling debris, startled by the display of power, while his companion looks on nervously in the forest. An older man inspects a mysterious purple egg, speculating about its value, while a younger man watches anxiously. He leans in, inspecting the glowing purple egg with fascination as he mutters about its color and texture. His eyes widen in awe as he feels a surge of excitement, his heart pounding with sudden realization. His face crackles with energy as he scoffs in disbelief, mocking his opponent. Hands a mysterious purple object to an older man, who laughs nervously and admits he doesn't know what it is. Studies the glowing purple stone, his face tense as he suggests it should be checked by a specialist. He grins as he wonders aloud if the mysterious item is just a really hard piece of, while she coughs awkwardly behind him. Asks the older man if he sells books about academy while stands by his side. The man looks up from his seat, surprised by the question. Outside, the group discusses taking entrance exam, with one looking unsure while another beams with encouragement. Mentions his daughter is also applying to, and offers her help, as someone steps forward toward the group in the outdoor setting. Pauses mid-sentence, noticing something unusual and curiously asks her dad about it. 3 people stand in front of the mountains as one of them asks about some strangers, while another welcomes the newcomers with a smile. A young woman stands with determination as someone introduces her as their only daughter. Leaves swirl around her beneath a bright sky. Flinches in surprise as he notices standing behind him, looking anxious. Looks calm and resolute, standing beneath the clear, bright sky. A cheerful woman tells to greet the group, announcing that they've just made a big sale, while reacts with surprise. The others stand nearby against a scenic mountain backdrop. A stern man with an eye patch scolds a surprised woman about her manners, leaving her shocked. A mustached man apologizes for the girl's bluntness while she nervously insists she's fine, and another person stands silently nearby. Looks worried and questions intentions as he walks away, leaving her uncertain and uneasy. Hurriedly lights a fuse as gasps in shock and bursts into wild laughter, declaring their intent to blow everything up. A man confronts a woman under the bright sky, asking if she's really catching her off guard. A woman questions a startled man about knowing someone named Sen, leaving him looking nervous and caught off guard. A shadowy figure with glowing eyes grips a sword, declaring with certainty, "It must be you." He gestures for her to come closer, curiosity in his eyes, while she hesitates in confusion. He leans in close and whispers a bold, awkward question, leaving her visibly annoyed and surprised. He leans in close and whispers a crude insult, leaving her wide-eyed and stunned. The woman stares in shock, exclaiming in disbelief, while the man beside her looks on thoughtfully. A woman stares ahead in shock, startled by a crude, unexpected question as a cartoon chili pepper waves beside her. A dark-haired man eyes the other suspiciously, commenting that he doesn't seem to have any special power, while the man clenches his teeth in frustration. Looks thoughtful as he wonders aloud if that man might unknowingly have a son, while a vehicle speeds by in the background. A furious woman slaps hard across the face, leaving him stunned and recalling the familiar sting. Count Sen takes a fighting stance, shouting in recognition as she faces the imposing figure of. A young man in uniform stands solemnly before a castle, recalling his time as a penal soldier and mentioning someone in charge of supplies. Two men sit together in a tavern, smiling as they clink their wooden mugs in a friendly toast. One reflects on how strict yet sociable his companion was, leaving a lasting impression. A clenched fist slams down on the table in frustration as the thought of certain topics stirs irritation. Inside a rustic tavern, a blonde-haired character suddenly slaps the black-haired protagonist, leaving him startled. Sits alone against the rocks at dusk, lost in regret over a missed chance to ask an important question. Lies battered and thoughtful on the ground, quietly stating, "Because he died before me." A shocked inner voice admits they never expected to discover the reason in this place. Smirks confidently, his face partially hidden in shadow as he utters, "Count." A furious woman clenches her fist and threatens someone off-panel, demanding to know if they laughed at her. With a fierce glare, she raises her fist and shouts, ready to land a punch. He playfully taps her on the head and she snaps at him, yelling for him to stop. Clutching her head in pain, the girl glares defiantly while the boy smirks and taunts her. She slaps him hard and the two break out into a heated struggle, shouting at each other in front of a stunned crowd. Two people struggle on the ground while two others rush over, shouting for them to stop fighting. The sun sets over a quiet campsite where tents and crates are neatly arranged. A young woman with pink hair looks on in shock and worry, asking what happened to the two people before her. The girl looks worried as she questions the others about the secret items they kept for themselves. He pauses, looking thoughtful, and asks for feedback with a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. A red-haired girl looks anxious as one of the figures confidently declares they'll buy something else if needed. Someone observes with tension how close the others have become. Three tense figures sit around a table, closely examining a collection of swords and a spear as they prepare in silence. 3 swords and a magic wand rest side by side on a wooden surface, creating a sense of anticipation. He studies the 3 swords and a magic wand laid out before him, deep in thought. A woman curiously asks why he carries 3 swords, and he replies that he tends to be rough with them and likes to be prepared. Someone examines a black steel sword closely, deciding it's the best among the selection. A woman calmly explains the impressive durability of the black steel sword as she examines it. He hesitantly reaches out to accept the black steel sword, marveling at its toughness and rarity. She examines the magic wand on the table, noting the quality of its mana stone with a thoughtful expression. A confident blonde teases the shy pink-haired character, who blushes and admits to being a mage. A nervous girl shyly admits that she uses telekinesis as her magic. The group sits around a table covered with weapons as one excitedly praises another's telekinesis, making him blush with a shy smile. They sit across from each other at the table, discussing which technique to show during the upcoming practical exam. A character explains that to enter, one must demonstrate a technique before professors who loom above on glowing pillars. She explains that while the written exam is challenging, doing well on the practical exam almost guarantees acceptance. He looks frustrated as he questions why proving himself in the exam is necessary, insisting that being a swordsman should be enough. The scene shifts to an empty, warmly lit room as someone explains that noble applicants often showcase their family's secret techniques to the professors. A woman explains mana combat techniques while the man beside her, surprised, asks about mana. She looks surprised and confused, questioning how swordsmen their age are able to use mana when they're not even mages. Someone off-panel scolds him about using mana in combat while he stares back in confusion, clearly not understanding. She reaches out, trembling with worry, while he stands back with his arms crossed, looking puzzled. She screams in shock as crackling energy bursts behind her, amplifying the tension. Reacts in disbelief as the group sits around a table covered with weapons, while one person sighs and covers their face in frustration. Looking embarrassed, he scratches his neck and defensively insists it was just a question, annoyed by the overreaction. An authoritative figure insists they leave immediately, leaving surprised and questioning if they really mean right now. He quickly grabs explaining he left his own at the blacksmith for repairs. Another person reacts in surprise. He protests as she uses his sword, but she calmly assures him nothing will happen to it before the fight ends. Looking irritated with his arms crossed, responds skeptically to an offer about compensating for the sword if it's damaged. She pulls back the curtain and sternly demands that he follow her for a special lesson. A muscular figure meditates calmly as glowing mana energy swirls around him, visually explaining how mana resonance works. 3 determined trainees wield swords and channel magical energy, as the narration explains that it usually takes a year of training to activate this special sense. A group of focused applicants stands before the grand entrance of Academy, ready to showcase their combat-ready mana skills. A brilliant full moon glows behind drifting clouds as a voice demands understanding. Tree branches stretch across the sky as a voice scornfully dismisses someone's grasp of magic and mocks their playset. Under the moonlight, the 2 opponents face off with swords drawn, tension crackling in the air. Rests his sword on his shoulder and thoughtfully explains how auras and mana are completely different, surprising his listener. A powerful warrior channels his radiant blue aura, his sword raised and eyes glowing with determination, as the narration explains the years of harsh training needed to unlock such power. Facing each other with swords in hand, one character confidently questions the other, who admits he's starting to understand, though still hesitant. Against a dark, swirling backdrop of blue and purple flames, someone recalls meeting people like that during the war. 2 shadowy figures glare at each other, their glowing eyes and swirling blue and pink auras filling the space with tension. A bloodied sword gleams under a red sky, as the narrator reflects on how tough the enemies were to kill. Stands wounded but unyielding on the battlefield, gripping his blood-stained sword as he reflects on how a single strong strike was enough to kill his foes. His face comes into focus, his eyes sharp with determination as he signals it's time to begin. With a sword resting on their shoulder, the character confidently suggests a hands-on approach to learning. A determined young girl charges at a boy with a glowing sword, unleashing a fierce attack as debris flies around them. He braces himself, shocked by her unexpected strength. Sparks fly as they clash swords mid-battle, both faces tense with determination. His fierce amber eye glints with determination as sparks fly from the clash of swords. The scene shifts to a shadowy, indistinct space where glowing particles drift silently, adding a sense of mystery and suspense. With a determined glare and glowing green eyes, he locks swords with his opponent as sparks fly between them. Sparks fly as the 2 clash swords fiercely, one of them scoffing, "HMPH, would you look at that?" Their swords collide with explosive force, energy crackling from the impact as the duel intensifies. Grips his sword and looks amazed as he realizes his opponent is already strong for her age and wields 2 swords. She grips her glowing sword with determination, realizing this is what it means to fight using mana. Stares ahead with wide, worried eyes and anxiously asks what's happening. Sparks fly as the 2 clash with mana-charged swords, while one thinks he could end the fight in a single blow to crush his opponent's hopes. Stands defiantly in a spotlight, gripping his sword as shadowy figures surround him, their laughter echoing ominously. Glowing eyes flash as he clashes swords with his opponent, shocked by the overwhelming strength he's facing without a hint of mana. His eyes widen in shock as the sword jolts unexpectedly in their grasp. Their swords collide with a resounding clang as they clash fiercely in midair. With his eyes glowing red, he lifts his sword in the darkness, ready to strike. A startled cry escapes her as she barely manages to deflect a vicious, glowing-eyed attack. She slams her sword into the ground with a furious yell, sending a shockwave rippling outward. Breathing heavily, she grips her sword and murmurs how close it was, relief clear on her face beneath the open sky. Stands outside at dusk, smiling confidently with his sword as he replies, likewise. A hand grips a sword tightly as someone acknowledges his talent, encouraging him to improve his balance. Anxiously calls out while determined, walks away with his sword into the forest. A woman brandishes a dagger at a calm man, challenging his victory while he firmly demands she keep her promise. A hand tightly grips a sword as it starts to crack, with someone demanding, remember what you said. She commands the sword's value to triple, shattering it into glowing shards with fierce determination. His eye blazes with determination as shards and light swirl around him, capturing his intense focus. Turns back with a serious look, demanding answers about his broken sword and insisting he's owed for it. A woman gripping her sword spins around in surprise as someone suddenly taps her on the back. With a look of genuine admiration, tells how impressive he was, showing understanding and empathy. Charges forward urgently while a startled woman stands frozen in the moonlit forest. A woman stands at a distance with her sword, while nearby, a pink-haired woman greets the group playfully and someone demands to know who she is. Stands in a busy camp, stating he's only there to collect payment for the sword as people prepare horses and unload goods nearby. The trio peers down with mixed emotions while one of them demands, "What's all this?" under the bright sky. A stack of books and bags sits atop a barrel, glowing with importance as someone excitedly mentions practice exams and a special summary. The blonde character grins and teases about the upcoming exam, while the black-haired one asks why he's helping them, and their red-haired friend watches eagerly. Grips his sword warily, but the woman reassures him with a warm smile, insisting she genuinely likes them. The woman cheerfully offers a sword for free as a gesture of goodwill, leaving the pink-haired girl amazed while the boy hesitates before accepting. Carrying crates against a mountain backdrop, he regretfully admits he wishes he could teach but must leave immediately for business. She bumps fists with him under the bright sky, warning him to study hard or face the consequences. He grins confidently beneath the clear sky, telling the other person to just focus on themselves. She waves enthusiastically from the back of a wagon, calling out that they'll meet again in the capital for the exam. Excitedly urges not to skip any books, while stands beside them, scratching his head with a thoughtful look. Pauses, his eye narrowed in deep thought as he murmurs, He gazes into the distance, resolving to strengthen his body and study seriously for the first time. He strides confidently down the forest path, assuring himself he doesn't feel too bad as she watches from behind. A quiet sunlit house stands beneath a blue sky as life continues peacefully, though change is in the air. Devours his meal at the table while watches him in astonishment. As eagerly devours his food, someone laughs and comments on just how hungry he was. He tightly grips a large sword, determined to build his stamina by hunting monsters after every hearty meal. Exhales in relief as he unsheathes his sword in the quiet forest. Stands calmly in a moonlit clearing, sword in hand, surrounded by the defeated monsters he's just wiped out. He decides to call it a day after clearing the entire area. Sits by candlelight, grumbling as he tries to memorize northern table manners, while a shadowy figure watches from the window. A school bag packed with books and notebooks sits on a desk as he anxiously prepares for his exam, uncertain but determined. A bird perches on a sunlit building as the narration announces the beginning of the story's setting. The majestic city of the imperial capital is revealed under a bright sky. A grand stone wall bearing a crossed sword's emblem marks the entrance to the prestigious White Town Borough, home of the Empire's top educational institute. She gazes upward with wide eyes, overcome with amazement at finally arriving. A breathtaking aerial view reveals the vast, magnificent city of Shining under a clear blue sky. Gazes up at the city's towering architecture, clearly awestruck by its beauty. Urgently warns not to stand in the middle of the street, his face half-shadowed against the sky. A girl stands nervously as someone urges her to hurry inside so they won't be late for the exam, quickly apologizing mid-sentence. She clutches her cloak, looking confused as she asks, "Nan, what is it?" against the city backdrop. hesitantly steps forward, admitting he's still not used to the change he's witnessing. Stands in the street looking surprised as he responds to someone remarking on how much he's grown. He rests one hand on his hip, clutching his sheathed sword. Sternly presses his hand on the girl's forehead, telling her to stop talking nonsense as she cries out in pain. Walks ahead, lost in thought about someone he might meet at, while the red-haired girl trails behind, visibly frustrated. The legendary head of the family stands ready with his glowing sword, his reputation as a genius swordsman shining in the intense atmosphere. The narrator gazes at the sunlit academy building, wondering if he'll meet someone his age at the upcoming exam. Gazes to the side with a thoughtful look, quietly mulling over his thoughts. A girl peeks out and asks if he brought something, leaving him looking confused and surprised. Explains the special feather's power, while they both watch a glowing bird soar above a tide sack in the night. Holds up a glowing blue feather and explains that he packed it before they left, recalling that the man lives in the capital. He holds a glowing blue feather and quietly mentions his plan to visit someone after the entrance exam. He holds the glowing feather, which points toward the building's top floor as both of them look up with determination. A quiet desk filled with books and picture frames sits under soft light as someone sighs about the challenges of teaching. Lost in thought, he wonders about returning to life as an explorer, but a blue bird chirps beside him, catching his attention. Gently strokes the small blue bird and laughs as he wonders if the bird is trying to encourage him. The professor, holding scrolls with a small blue bird on his shoulder, declares he still needs to repay the person who saved the bird. Looking thoughtful, turns toward the sunlit window and suggests opening it in case his savior arrives. A figure with glowing yellow eyes grins mischievously as he peers through the open window, surprised it gave way before he even knocked. A nervous, imposing lion-like creature with glasses notices the blue bird and realizes someone nearby must be its owner. A piercing scream and a bird's call ring out over the sunlit castle, breaking the tense silence. A frightened lion-like figure clutches a small blue bird and demands to know who the intruders are, trembling as a large foot stomps nearby. The group arrives near the top floor, catching their breath after a stressful climb, while one of them complains about not taking the stairs. A nervous, lion-like figure clutches a struggling blue bird and suspiciously demands to know if someone is after his beloved. A gloved hand lifts a glowing blue feather, and someone reacts in surprise to its significance. The lion-like character with glasses stares ahead in shock, his eyes wide with surprise. A tense question hangs in the air as one person holds a blue feather and the other looks on nervously by the window. In a sunlit, elegant room, someone reflects with regret on having treated his rescuers poorly. Bows deeply in apology while reassures him that there's no need to keep saying sorry, with quietly observing the scene. They sit on the couch, bickering as each tries to blame the other for a reckless stunt involving the window and telekinesis. Squeezes his cheeks to silence them, while protests with muffled annoyance. Grabs by the collar in shock, demanding to be let go while remarks on how rare are. The atmosphere at the table is tense as secrets are revealed. Looking nervous, admits he's surprised to learn about someone's application to the academy, while a small blue bird sits on his shoulder. The lion-like figure sighs with regret, wishing he had known sooner so he could have written a recommendation letter, while the blue bird remains nearby. One character rummages through his things and speaks with urgency, while the other sits beside him looking frustrated and tense. He adjusts his glasses in surprise as someone hands him a glowing purple object, questioning its origin and mentioning a blue bird. Stares in awe at the glowing purple egg he's holding, barely believing what he sees. Looking embarrassed, holds up an egg and explains to the man across from him, who questions why it's such a big deal if birds lay eggs. With a serious gaze, the elderly man reveals that is no ordinary bird but a rare. The speech bubble hints that an even bigger revelation is coming. A mysterious figure reveals a glowing egg, explaining that no one knows what creature will hatch from it, while the young man nearby looks puzzled and uneasy. Nervously shakes a glowing purple egg while a small blue bird sits calmly on his shoulder, wondering if it will hatch into a regular bird. A glowing enchanted egg floats above as a fiery bird and a monstrous bird appear, illustrating how their forms depend on where they're born. He taps the glowing purple egg and explains that, unlike most, this one's appearance can't be predicted. The small blue bird listens quietly on his shoulder. Examines the glowing, multicolored egg in his hand, marveling at the swirling mana inside it. sits nervously on the couch, admitting he doesn't know what's inside the mysterious egg. Questions the blue bird about where it's been and how it managed to lay such a strange egg, while the bird tilts its head and tweets back innocently. Looking nervous, reacts as the lion-like figure across the table begins to speak, a glowing purple egg resting between them. He calmly asks if someone can hold onto the egg, saying he doesn't really mind either way. He hesitantly asks if it's really okay for him to have the egg, and the lion-like figure explains how rare and valuable it is, since only lay one in their lifetime. The lion-like figure reassures the small blue bird, telling it that must have sensed something special to lay her only egg for it. He gently strokes the blue bird perched on his shoulder, saying he wants to honor his old friend's wishes. Sits calmly on a chair, curiously examining a glowing purple orb as he wonders what will happen next. As the exam approaches, they prepare to leave the room, but someone calls out to stop them for a moment. The lion-like character with a blue bird perched on his shoulder beams as he announces he's found the perfect gift to show his gratitude, while the others watch curiously. A gloved figure urgently hands a scroll, promising it will help hatch the egg, while watches with concern. A magnificent castle stands tall beneath a clear blue sky as someone exclaims in surprise. Time passes as the scene shifts to the grand building under a bright, sunny sky. The main building of fort stands tall and bright under a clear sky, introducing the site of the upcoming practical exam. A grand waiting room buzzes with anticipation as applicants sit quietly, while a stern man stands by the open doors flooded with light. A man in a suit announces that applicant 111 has finished the exam, while a young man stands with his sword as others watch in silence. An official calls for number 112 to enter, and a gray-haired man quickly stands up, responding with determination. With a heavy creak, he stands before grand doors as they slowly open, his back tense with anticipation. His face tightens with resolve as he realizes he's about to be called next. Sits with his head propped on his hand, looking bored as he complains about how long they've been kept waiting. Two students sit together, discussing how patience is crucial in exams, with one asking if she agrees. She explains with a confident shrug that she dressed up for the occasion because gathers the empire's wealthiest families. She winks confidently, insisting she needs to look professional, while he watches her with a nervous, doubtful expression. Sighs and wishes Cutie were with them, but admits there's nothing they can do since the mage exams are elsewhere, listens quietly beside him. A nervous young man frets over his performance, while the official announces the end of one exam and calls the next applicant to enter. Stands up with his sword as a supportive woman urges him to do his best and stay calm. The threatens him with consequences if he fails, but he just replies with mocking sarcasm in the elegant room. He glances back with his sword in hand, promising to return soon as he exits through the grand doorway, leaving the suited man behind. Blue banners with golden unicorns hang proudly along the castle wall beneath a balcony, casting an air of quiet majesty. His golden eyes narrow with intensity as he spots a group of people across the way. Stands in awe before a panel of 5 distinguished professors seated behind a long table in the grand hall. His eye is shown in a close-up, sharp with intense concentration. 5 imposing figures sit at a formal table, with the stern headmaster drawing the most attention from the group. A striking woman with long white hair exudes an intense energy, making a powerful impression in the room. The narrator is awed by her presence, recalling they've rarely encountered such force even in a past life. Bows respectfully and introduces himself, while the headmaster greets him in return. Sword in hand, prepares to demonstrate a technique before an enchanted dummy as the instructors watch with anticipation. With a determined look, he draws his sword and says, "Just a quick slash." 2 elderly men exchange surprised glances as they notice someone performing an ordinary slash without using mana, sparking curiosity and disbelief in the grand hall. The 2 older men laugh and mock an applicant for underestimating the enchanted dummy, speculating that his ignorance might come from growing up in the countryside. A sophisticated armored dummy stands proudly in the hall as its advanced magic engineering and self-recovery features are described. 2 older men whisper quietly, doubting the kid's chances but wondering if he might pull off something amazing. The elderly man sits tensely, scolding others for speaking rudely in front of an applicant. The elderly man looks anxious, worrying aloud that the boy might be discouraged by others. Stands confused before an armored training dummy, while someone with long hair watches him from behind. A young man crouches with glowing golden eyes, gripping his sword as an intense, overwhelming energy radiates from him, leaving onlookers in shock at his power. With a fierce stomp, he swings his glowing sword in a powerful slash, cutting through the air. He tenses up as a sudden rustling sound catches his attention. With a serious, thoughtful look, gazes off to the side, lost in contemplation. Draws his sword with a determined look, standing in a stone-walled courtyard. Bows respectfully before the judges, announcing the end of his demonstration. The judges watch him in silence, their expressions serious. The two elders sit on their thrones, surprised and unsure how to judge the effectiveness of a single slash. A worried attendant leans over the older man, anxiously asking if he's all right as the elder remains silent and unresponsive. An older man with long white hair and glasses stares ahead in shock, sweat beading on his face. Charges forward with fierce, glowing eyes as everyone reels in shock at her sudden aggression. Someone cries out her name in disbelief. With her eyes glowing red, the furious attacker lunges forward and slashes her sword at the calm, unflinching man standing before her. His eyes narrow warily as he reacts to a sudden presence, startled and demanding to know who's there. With wide, glowing eyes, the character demands to know where the sword technique was learned, clearly shocked by what they've witnessed.